do you make of where the Kavanaugh hearings are now? There's a new set of demands that have come out.
I think it's a very sad situation. He's an outstanding person. And frankly, Sean, to see what's going on is just very, very sad. You say, why didn't somebody call the FBI 36 years ago? I mean, you could also say, when did this all happen? What's going on? To take a man like this and besmirch. Now, with that being said, let her have her say, and let's see how it all works out. But I don't think you can delay it any longer. They've delayed it a week already. And
you've been very accommodating.
I have been accommodating. I say, let her say what she has to say, and let's see how it all comes out. But they've delayed it a week, and they have to get on with it.
Democrats with eyes on retaking control of Congress, promising to continue investigating Brett Kavanaugh, even if he is confirmed to the Supreme Court. And the New York Times getting a lot of attention for this op-ed, making the case for impeaching Kavanaugh if he gets to sit on the high court. Okay, Jesse.
Yes.
It seems like there's a long list of things Democrats want to investigate if and when we take the House back in November. Do you think this is a real serious threat or just an empty threat?
Well, he's a liar because he doesn't want to investigate.
Kavanaugh?
No, White House. He doesn't want to investigate. The Democrats on the committee had their chance to investigate and go behind closed doors and interview Brett Kavanaugh. And they were invited by the majority Senate Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, and they abstained. And now they're complaining, and they say they want to investigate. Well, you had your chance. You're obviously not an honest broker in this process. They're also doing it to rally the base, obviously. And who knows, you know, if they do win the House or the Senate, anything could happen. It's all on the table. Impeachment, not only of Kavanaugh, but of President Trump. And I just think he was speaking the truth there. I think they're honestly going to go all in on this administration. All in.
Dana, do you think this, I mean, Democratic voters are very fired up. We've seen that the base is very excited to vote. How do you think that message plays? We're, what, 45 days to the midterms?
Well, it repeatedly, what voters say is what they want is they want Washington to get stuff done.
Right.
If you are campaigning on only doing investigations of the president and his administration, that spells one word, and it's gridlock. So you don't actually get to what the voters say they want. It might be what the Democratic base wants. It might be something that they want, they want to fight. But it's interesting is how the Democrats seem to be flailing because they know that for 3 decades, the conservatives worked together to figure out a way to find really good nominees like Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch and John Roberts and Justice Alito and Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, there is a pipeline of excellent conservative judges, and the Democrats have blown this issue off. Yeah. They didn't care. So instead of actually winning elections so that they could put somebody on the court, they just want to impeach and investigate, which is pretty unsatisfying, especially if you want to go to Washington to do some good stuff.
Greg, I think that we also hear from voters that they want some accountability for the Trump administration, that they don't feel like the Republicans in Congress are doing much oversight of the Trump administration, which I would agree with. But what do you make of this?
Oversight? I mean, they've been subpoenaing the DOJ and the FBI all year.
We're going to get to DOJ in a second, but they haven't done, I mean, compared to the kind of oversight they provided to the administration I worked in, it feels different. Let's put it that way.
It's a very transparent administration, Marie. I'll say that. First, let's investigate Kavanaugh because after he's confirmed, because then your party would be able to prove that this merely wasn't political. That if they really believe this and they believe it with all their heart, they should investigate him. They should go for him after he's been confirmed. Because if he gets confirmed and then you never hear about this story again, what do you know? You know that it was 100% political. And while we're investigating, you know who else should be investigated? Who was the person that had a Chinese spy for 20 years as a driver?
Diane.
Yeah, Diane. And then while that was happening, her husband got rich in China. Yep. It was like an honorary consul or something. That smacks. I mean, a 20-year driver who was a spy. I think Dianne Feinstein should be investigated as well.
Hear, hear.
All right. We've solved a lot of problems here.
That is a very interesting theory, though, that if Democrats are really not just being partisan, they will actually continue investigating, even if he's confirmed. Morgan, what say you?
So, interestingly, I was talking to someone at one of the Republican committees about the polling, and typically what you see whenever you have a party that's controlling the White House and Congress, voters tend to want to vote another party in power so that there's a check and balance, right? This is natural in the process. What the pollster told me is that while there is an element of that that's happening with independents, what's happening happen is because the Democrats are running people that are so far extreme to the left, wanting to abolish ICE, socialism
in some
for all.
districts, not in
some
all.
districts. So, but the point being is that natural tendency of the independent to go towards the Democrat is now tempered by the fact that they know that voters don't actually want impeachment when you poll them. They don't want all of these ongoing investigations. They certainly don't want impeachment of Trump, much less a Supreme Court justice. So I actually think that Democrats do themselves a disservice for the midterms whenever they run on this. First of all, it's incredibly easy for the president to rev up his base whenever they say, look, they're not even going to impeach me. They're going to try to impeach Kavanaugh. I mean, that's like a ready-made campaign ad right there.
Well, and interestingly, Kavanaugh has really low approval ratings for a Supreme Court nominee. So
Well, they've gone down in the last week.
I wonder how that happened.
Defend
before
himself.
that, even before these allegations, they were historically low for Supreme Court nominee. But we will see how that plays out. We will continue watching. Next week will be crazy.
Former communication strategist for Justice Neil Gorsuch during his nomination hearings. Ron, we just heard Edward mention this letter that Judge Kavanaugh put out. I just want to read a part of it because it gets to the heart of the question of his own reputation. He says, I continue to want a hearing as soon as possible so that I can clear my name. Since the moment I first heard this allegation, I've categorically and unequivocally denied it. I remain committed to defending my integrity. I mean, this is a guy with a spotless reputation. Yes. Can he ever get that back?
I certainly think he can. And, you know, he does still carry a tremendous amount of respect. And when he's confirmed to the Supreme Court, he'll start doing great work. And you'll start seeing it in his legal opinions. I think one of the biggest things that he can use to his advantage is time. Unfortunately, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen over time. We saw that with Clarence Thomas. He is widely respected.
But let me just focus on Justice Thomas for a second, because a lot of people say since Anita Hill had an FBI investigation look into her charges, we should do the same here. Bottom line is there was an FBI investigation of Anita Hill, and her claims were found to be, and I'm quoting now, without foundation. So her claims were without foundation, but the taint of the Anita Hill hearings stay with him to this day. I mean, a lot of, perhaps you and others would say that he is without blame in that incident, but a lot of other people think otherwise. So it's going to be hard, no matter what happens, for Judge Kavanaugh to escape what's happened here.
Well, I think one of the things is, though, if Ford does testify that, and she does not give a compelling, she does not deliver a compelling appearance, and that there is holes in her testimony, that will also help on the reputation front. Absolutely. I mean, this is a jump ball, though. We don't know where it's going if it actually happens. Right. I kind of tended to think that because there's complete delay on agreeing to do this, and that we're almost at, the end of the day where we're supposed to know whether or not she's going to do it. It just feels like delay after delay. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, even if it doesn't happen, or whether it does, if Judge Kavanaugh becomes Justice Kavanaugh in the Supreme Court, now you have op-eds in the New York Times and elsewhere by Democrats talking about impeaching Justice Kavanaugh if he does get confirmed. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that would just fire up the conservative base big time, and that could be used. Conservative voters wouldn't like that, and they'd be pretty fired up going into the November elections, that's for sure. Look, once he's on the Supreme Court, it's going to be very difficult to get him out of there. And, you know, there could be another opening on the court sometime in the near future. So I think that's a lot of happy talk. Yeah. And you'd really have to have conclusive evidence in order to get that. Plus, you'd have to get that through. Through Congress, and I just can't see that happening.
Ron, finally, we got to make this quick, but a lot of people suspect that Democrats are just trying to delay the process till after the election, when they hope to take over the Senate, and then they could essentially block any nominee for the next 2 years. How long, if Judge Kavanaugh withdraws or does not succeed in becoming a justice, how long would it take for a new nominee to be confirmed?
Well, first of all, I agree that this smacks of politics, and it's no question the Democrats are trying to delay it, and that's why, you know, Ford has a Democratic operative helping her, and every day that goes by is a day that helps the Democratic Party.
But how long would it take to confirm another nominee if Kavanaugh withdraws? Would it be after the election?
Yeah. No, it would be after the election.
Okay.
Justice Gorsuch took 67 days. this has taken a couple of months for Kavanaugh.
Gotcha.
This, that's about the average is about,
Ron Bonjean,
60 days.
thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too.